All right. Woo. Look. I got that wow. Who wants some hands up right now? We got that. Turn it up loud. I know you're wondering how. I got that wow. Here I go, coming. I can't ever stop. I'm a tour de force running. Get me to the top. I don't need an invitation. I'm about to start a celebration.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Oh, it's been a while since we've acknowledged the music. It's a really, really great way to get started.
It is.
Yeah, it
I've
is.
almost got the first 30 seconds of the lyrics memorized. Almost.
I know. I love it. Well, how are you guys?
Good.
Good.
Here we are again for another episode of Three Cocktails In. We are excited to have another addicting conversation. It's been a week since we were together. So everybody having a good start to your week?
Yes.
Well, mine starts tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's technically Sunday night for me.
Do you have the Sunday scaries?
Nope,
Yay!
There we go. Good.
I don't.
All ready to go.
Well, let's not go overboard, but
Yeah.
got some laundry done, got some groceries picked up,
Mm-hmm.
gonna make some salads the next couple days.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You take your lunch every day?
I have to eat every day. There's no way I can go from 10 until 7 without having something. And I've fallen into the trap of DoorDash, which, is fine. I mean, I order things like Panera and get a really good sandwich, or it's always a sandwich. I never order a salad there. But, if I'm hungry and if I don't do that, it's the candy that's on my desk. Because I always try and have a little dish of candy either on my desk or, for people who walk in, just to have something. And
yeah,
I'm going to have to go back to buying things like that have nuts in it that I can't eat.
There you go.
The bag of Twizzlers and gummy bears and Starbursts.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in the pants that I have on.
Yeah.
I've eaten far too many of them. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we're still living in under mounds of Girl Scout cookies in my office.
I never got any.
Well.
Oh, well, if you still have them, that's pretty good because mine are long gone. Long gone.
Yeah.
Kitty, those all freeze really well.
Yeah.
Well, they're office cookies. So, I mean, they're at the office and they were bought by the office. So I feel like I can, walk out with an armful of them. But they're right in the coffee room. And so every time I go in there to freshen up my coffee, I have to look at them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a philanthropic endeavor you're taking. Every time you eat one of those, you're supporting Girl Scouts. So calories don't count for that.
Right.
I guess. But wouldn't it be amazing if Thin Mints made you thin?
Yeah.
That would be good. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it's false advertising. That's what it is.
It is.
And the thanks a lot made you thankful.
Yeah. Stacey, what's going on with you?
Well, I had a good weekend, a good Easter, because I got to hold little Sawyer, my new grandson, a lot of the day. Finally. Should I tell the story? Yes. So when he was born, I know one time we recorded, and I can't remember which episode. Well, it would have been 4 weeks ago, basically. Madison was in labor and I was just waiting for the phone call. Couldn't wait, to hear. He was born, that night on, what the heck was it? March 6th, like 8:00 and all great. And the next day I went to the hospital and got to hold him and everything. And then Friday, they were getting ready to go home from the hospital. And the pediatrician, the, baby doctor, said she wasn't liking some of the things that were on his chart because he had a very, very weak cry and just never made a lot of noise. So she said, I'm going to call a specialist and see what he thinks. So she calls him, and they ended up getting, he was transported to the children's hospital in the NICU to look at, what the issue was. Ended up, he had what they call unilateral vocal cord paralysis. So one of his vocal cords is paralyzed, still is. But the issue early on was that, it was difficult for him to eat and breathe at the same time. So they spent 3 weeks in the NICU, which was a very, long and stressful time, doing tests after test and, really finding nothing, no underlying cause for it. He just had to get to the point where he could, eat enough consistently. And that basically took, 3 weeks time. So then he got out last, just on Saturday, and he's doing great. He has gained 1.5 pounds, I think. So he weighs 9 pounds.
Wow.
Doing well. Yeah. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, the vocal cord still doesn't work. It may just start working someday in a week or a month or a year, whatever, or maybe not.
Now, you said it won't make a difference in his ability to talk and everything else, right?
No, the only thing they think, like if it never starts working, for instance, he'll, be a normal kid for sure. He may just get winded, like being active, or say when he gets older and plays sports, he'll get winded faster than, other kids, and just have to take a break, and then he'd be fine and go on. Like I said, they found no real cause for it. They did some genetic testing. They found nothing there either. So, very rare thing. So,
wow.
Odd that they found it. Yeah, he's, like I said, doing good now. It was just a little stressful at the beginning, what's going to happen and what they're going to have to do, and, all this kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, otherwise he's doing good.
Good.
And so mom and dad, Madison and Ty, feeling good about this? Were they freaked out now about being home this weekend without having anybody to help them?
No, I thought maybe they would. So he's 4 weeks today, so she has it figured out. She got to the point where she could tell when, like when he would eat, he would like almost hold his breath or not breathe at the same time. So she can tell that and just stops feeding him until he catches up and gets going. So now she knows, and she, she recognizes the sounds when it's kind of happening and whatever. But yeah, otherwise he's, they've just kind of gotten used to it being a little different than maybe they thought it would be. So yeah. Otherwise,
there will be more of that going forward.
Right? Yeah. I mean, so my plug for this is, do you ever drive through, like I did just not very long ago? You drive through and they want you to up your, your bill to the even dollar to donate to a children's hospital or Ronald McDonald House. If you drive through McDonald's, I highly recommend you do that. And I'll tell you why. Ronald McDonald House was probably the biggest savior to them. Madison never left, the hospital, for any big amount of time, an hour here, 2 hours there. But Ronald McDonald House, they could get away. She could sleep in a bed instead of a recliner, for a while. Ty could get away and sleep there. It's kind of like they had a little, like hotel room type thing. And meals were free, snacks were free, drinks. They could just go over there and kind of unwind and do whatever, all for free. no charge to them, which, honestly was kind of a lifesaver, just so they could, spend some time away and,
It is so interesting that you're talking about that. And we talked about Girl Scout cookies.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that all three girls were in Girl Scouts, and the older two troops often worked together just because they were a year apart. And, I'm leading both of them, so we're going to kill two birds with one stone. But cookie time, a lot of people say, oh, I don't want cookies. I don't want them. I'm on a diet. And we got to the point where we would say, well, would you like to buy a box we're going to give them? And a couple of years, they gave boxes and boxes of Girl Scout cookies to the Ronald McDonald House.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yep. So, because again, families that are there, and oftentimes there's families with kids.
Yes.
That aren't the reason why they're there, but there are families there, and different volunteer groups who go in and make dinners or bring dinners in, actual not fast food type dinners. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah,
it really does.
So it's good to offer that as a suggestion. I mean, it's easy to, as you're walking into the grocery store and you've got the little stand there, and I'm like, I don't want any cookies. It's easy. I don't think about, well, buy a box for somebody who can't buy a box.
Yeah.
Don't they send boxes to the troops and things
they
like
do.
that? Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But if a lot of people, again, support the troops, and that's fabulous. There is a portion of people who say, well, there are people in our community, in my community, that need help. Well, that's a wonderful thing to do. Yeah. And so often, I just was having a conversation with somebody. I went to a networking event last night that was a little interesting. It was great, but we were having a conversation about how things don't change or get better until you are personally affected by it, and then that spurs you to action.
Yeah.
And so the Ronald McDonald House, I mean, we all see the commercials. It's just like you see the commercials for St. Jude.
Yep.
But it doesn't affect us on our daily life. So sometimes we forget about that stuff. And Stacey, that was really good to bring that up, and how it really did help them out.
It did really help a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of ties into what we're talking about today, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. So a few weeks ago, we had an episode where we had a really, really good conversation on the topic of managing emotions at work and at home. If you guys didn't catch that one, go back a few episodes. I want to say it was around 21 or 22, I think. Really relevant because it touches all of us. We all have interaction with people, whether we are in the workforce or here in our personal lives. We have interaction with people, and it may not always be good when we're driving down 35W, whatever. We are human beings. We have interactions, and they're unavoidable, and our emotions are affected by that. But so we've been thinking about a related topic to that, particularly because Amy came across a video on social media. It was from one of Gary Vaynerchuk's keynotes. And if you don't know Gary, he goes by Gary V. We highly suggest that you follow him. I think you guys follow him both, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So Gary V is an entrepreneur. He's a speaker. He's an author. He's an internet personality. I want to say he owns a dozen companies. I think he's probably got 1,000 employees across all of those companies. So he knows of what he speaks.
Yes.
Right. And he's very outspoken, very motivational, and very inspirational.
Very real. He's not a button down, buy my book sort of guy. He is in your face, and sometimes he tells you stuff you don't want to hear.
Yeah. Yes.
But he's always entertaining, and he's always really got, he just is in it for the good of people.
Yes. Yes. And that is central to this topic today. I'll just say one more thing on him. If you have a problem with the F word, you're going to have a problem following him because that is sprinkled throughout every one of his talks. But so the video that Amy found and dropped into our messenger was titled "Why You May Need to Fire Your Most Talented Employee." So super provocative title, right? You're like, what? Well, of course, there's going to be a brilliant message behind it. And the whole premise is that even if you have a really, really talented person on your team, so maybe they're the highest performing salesperson, or they are a really gifted CFO, or they are just a really brilliant mind, if they are toxic inside your culture, they have to go. And Amy, when you dropped that message, that video into our messenger, Stacey and I both responded back immediately. Facts, truth.
100%.
Yes, 100%. Why? Because we've all experienced it before.
Yeah. Yep. And and his point was that it slows your business down. So from purely a business standpoint, it's not doing you any good because people don't want to go to meetings with this person. People spend their time talking about how horrible this person is, how they don't want to work with them. It just brings morale down across the board, slows everything down.
Yeah. It's a cancer inside the organization, and I can't think of any better way to describe it. And it can be frustrating when you are inside that organization and you have to work alongside that person and you don't feel supported by the leadership team. The leadership team, for some reason, turns the cheek on it.
Yep.
I don't know. Are they afraid of backlash from the employee? Well, red flag, right?
Yeah.
No employer or leadership team should be held hostage by a dysfunctional employee. But it happens. And I don't know the first thing about HR. We don't know anything about employment law, or we don't know much about employment law. But to us, it always just seems, why is it so hard to identify that and get rid of them?
Yeah. No one wants to lose a team member and have to rehire. You know what I mean? Everybody thinks, oh, it'll get better. People will get over it, or it's somebody else's issue. Maybe it's their issue, not the employee you're thinking about, and people have a real hard time, actually firing somebody, because then you have to look for someone new, especially like he said, if it's somebody really high functioning, but yet the team just can't get along with them, then, it's a problem. So you have it's a toss up whether, you fire someone that good.
Yeah. And what Gary says emphatically is that you have to cut them. You have to get them out fast, because if you don't, everything else will suffer. And so whatever results to the bottom line that person might be achieving, it's gonna be depleted in other parts of the company or in other ways because of the interaction with them and employees.
Yeah. I think that again, I don't know that it matters quite so much for kind of what we want to focus on, but I think that sometimes management is so far removed from the daily ongoings of the work environment. They're just not there in the daily goings on, and nobody wants to run and tattle to them. And also they look at the bottom line. And so when you don't have, because I think toxic employees are often, they know where their bread's buttered, so they're not toxic to, the truly high people.
Going up. Yeah, I disagree. I think people do complain. People complain about other people. And that's what I'm saying is that then the manager says, well, kind of brushes it off as, well, this person is really good and you're the one complaining, so you must be the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think that happens a lot, and then it even frustrates the team even more, because then it seems like, well, management's not listening to what we're saying. You're just viewing it as complaining. So that's difficult to deal with.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that people don't feel that they work in a safe environment, that they can go to their manager or HR, whoever that might be, and have a candid conversation and not have there be negative ramifications on them.
Right.
So Amy, you touched on that, a lot of leaders, or, especially the C-suite perhaps, is very removed from individual people, departments. And one of the things that Gary talks a lot about, I talk about him like he's my colleague.
He would love that, by the way. He would love that we refer to him as one of our, the silent voice. He's the fourth cocktail. I'm sure that he'd be okay with that too, especially if we're drinking wine, because that's also one of his.
Right. Yeah. One of his business, at least one of his businesses is wine. Yeah. But oh gosh, now I lost my train of thought.
The most important position in the company.
Yes. Oh,
where are you going with it?
Yeah. Thank you. So he says that it is actually, if you are a CEO, if you are that top level, it is your job to know your employees. And so the focus on culture has become way more important than just the focus on the P&L and profits and margin and all of that. So the status of the CFO, while very important role, I'm not saying that the CFO is not important, very important, but in his view, it's him as the entrepreneur, the owner, the visionary, the creator of the company. He said, my right hand is not the CEO or the president, it's the chief heart officer. And he says it over and over again. It's the people officer, HR, whatever you want to call it. But that person is more important than anybody else. And he actually even went on to say, if there's friction between the CFO and the chief heart officer, and there's a tie, he will give it to the chief heart officer, hands down, every time.
Yeah. Yep.
So pointing out the fact that you have to listen to your people. And I mean, that's just one little thing about creating a good culture. Everybody wants something different in the workplace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I love that. I love this idea, and especially for us. I mean, he was talking about, somebody who takes their first job and what they're motivated by when they're 24, changes when they're 27, and that, when you're 31 and now you're 35, you're motivated by different things. And he mentions money. Maybe he mentioned, it might be status. It might be the promotion. It might just be, I want to do my job and go home. I want to do my job, get paid accordingly, and go home. Yeah. And I think that that's so good to recognize, because we're not all motivated by the same thing. But I find that to be really true for all of us where we're at right now.
Yes.
Because the three of us are motivated by very different things. Mm-hmm. And it's not just at the beginning of your career. I think it's equally as important. I mean, it's important in every stage. But, people our age, and they're the finger bunnies, our age or at our stage, a lot of people would assume we're thinking about retirement. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know that any of the three of us are.
Well, we dream about it. We dream about it, but nothing official. We're not planning our exit. I don't think
well,
yet.
I'm not at all. I'm finally loving what I do. I don't have Sunday scaries. I like this.
Yeah.
But what motivates me is different than what motivates Stacey, is different than what motivates Kitty.
Mhm.
And, you know, I see it. I can see toxic people, toxic additions
Yeah.
to the team. And I can see the ripple effects. You know, it's that drop in the lake, and the water goes and it goes and it goes and goes. And pretty soon the whole lake is getting the waves on the shore, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's got to be, it needs to be addressed far more than, like Gary says, the foosball. Nobody needs a foosball table.
Right.
That's not going to make people happy and want to stay.
Yeah.
Being heard, being listened to,
Mhm.
and being treated as a valuable member of the organization and the team is the big thing.
Yeah. Many years ago, when I worked at an agency, we were doing a project for, oh gosh, I'm going to draw a blank on the company name, huge corporation, and it was in Wisconsin. And so we went to tour the facility, and one division of the company was armored vehicles. They manufactured armored vehicles. And so this, you know, again, this was just one division of this giant company. And the CEO of that company was a Army general.
Ooh.
He was an Army general, and he was exactly what you would picture an Army general to look like. And I would guess he was probably in his early 70s. And so we sat down with him and we talked, and, you know, talked about the business. And then he said, let's go walk. And we walked through the plant. And so here we are in this facility where they are building from the ground up, from the tranny to the, you know, whatever, these massive, you know, wheels that are, right? The wheels are that tall. You have to stand on a ladder to get into the vehicle. And this Army general who was leading the company, he knew every single employee's name. And as we walked through that facility and walked down every conveyor belt, every production line, basically, he stopped and talked to every single one of those employees that worked in there. And you could tell that every one of those employees loved what they did and felt valued.
Yeah.
And that's what Gary is continually hammering on. And I'm just hopeful that just like you used the ripple effect, Amy, that I'm hoping that just continues to bubble up as more and more leaders jump on board with that, because it's needed for the future that we are going into. It's that human element. At one point he said, it's the human elements that will drive our companies forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear that, AI?
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody's saying AI is coming for my job. Okay, AI is definitely going to be present, and it is going to be a factor, but it's the human element that will drive all of our companies' success.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's too bad when you have that situation. I think back to 3 bosses ago. He'd only, you know, we have separate buildings. I think I've kind of described that before. My team is of 4, sits in a different office building than the rest of the main office and the plant and everything. That boss had been, I think, in our building, it was less than 5. We always joked is less than a handful of times. So you obviously have no connection, you know, with the people that work for you, which is so, you know, so disappointing. And that's exactly what it was. It's certainly toxic. And we were all glad that he left. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's things like that that's too bad. How you fix it, you know, that's the problem. You don't. You just hope they leave eventually.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It takes a new leader coming in to create change.
Yep. Yep.
Potentially. So, quick little story here. At a previous company that I worked for, we were on the traction system. If you're not, I'm frozen. I just
You're
froze.
back.
I just froze there for a second. That was not a good look. At a previous company that I worked for, we were on the traction system.
I don't know what that is.
Traction, EOS.
Oh, yeah, I do know what that is.
Yeah, you do. I'm like, Amy, yeah, you do.
Yeah, not a fan.
No, it's the Traction Entrepreneurial Operating System. And so our whole company was driven on that. And so our CEO came up with this idea that, so as part of that, everybody has a metric, basically. You know exactly what your goals and objectives are. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's a very good thing. We all, as employees, have to have our goals and metrics to measure ourselves as employees. Are we doing what we need to be doing? But he came up with this brilliant idea to, he said, so everybody needs to know their number. Okay, so you know your number. I'm gonna have cash in my pocket. And on any random day, if I pass you in the hallway and I stop you and I say, what's your number? What's your number? And if you can answer that question, I'm going to give you cash out of my pocket. And I was just like, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? So what's your number? How about what a great way to make someone feel like a cog in the entire organization rather than a meaningful contributor. And maybe a better question would be, what's your why? Amy or Stacey?
Oh, I don't like that question either.
Right? Whoever it is that they're catching in the hallway, what is it that you go to work for? What is it fulfilling for you? As you said earlier, it could be I'm wanting to see my career go like this. I want to contribute to my family income. I want to take a vacation. I mean, it could be any number of things, but why do you do what you do?
I don't like that question. I don't like that question at all, because I think that people who are there to do their job, get paid, and go home, they're not going to say that to the CEO.
But they should be able to.
Well, would, could. I think a better question is, how are things been going for you? What can I help you with? What do you need me to help you do today?
Yeah.
How can I make I think that by asking that simple question, how can I help you today?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to have a meaningful conversation with somebody who knows your name, and you want to do better at what you're doing, to be able to say, this week has been pretty good. I was a little over my head last week, but so-and-so helped me out, and I'm feeling good where things are going. Mm-hmm. Or to be able to say, this project has got me a little stumped, but I'm working with X and Y, and I think we're going to get this figured out. What a better question to ask. For some reason, this whole idea of what's your why, well, I hear it in all sorts of, it's a really big question in real estate that people are always asking realtors, what's your why? You have to figure out what your why is. Well, the truth of the matter is, half the time my why is I want to make a shit ton of money.
It doesn't have to be anything more than that.
Yeah, but again, people don't want to hear that.
Your
boss might. Your boss might.
Yeah, your boss is gonna agree with that. I mean, that's the,
But you're not gonna go on social media and say, my why is, I want to make a lot of money.
Well, why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
So this is, and I think that, if there are younger people that are listening to this, you guys, something popped up on Instagram recently. I want to say maybe Jenna Kutcher put it out. You guys follow her?
No.
Jenna Kutcher.
I know who she is, but yeah.
Okay. So I feel like she was the one who put it out. And the premise is that women under 30 post a question, and then women over 30 will answer it. And I love that concept. So
sure.
This is one of the topics right here where I feel like for those of you who might be younger and in the early parts of your career, or maybe even, starting to hit to the mid, have confidence to state what it is you want, and have confidence to say to your boss, yeah, you know what? I'm here to make I'm a salesperson. I'm here to make as much money as I possibly can. Now, I need to be, my morals need to be in check in doing that. I need to not backstab my employees and steal accounts and stuff. I have to have a good code of conduct.
Talk about toxic. Talk about toxic behavior.
But it's absolutely okay, because that could be the phase of life that they're in. And there's all this conversation lately about bring your whole self to work. Be yourself at work. That's one of the ways to do it. Make it known what exactly you're there to do. And if you're working for a company who says, who doesn't like that for whatever reason, then you're not in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the culture for you.
Yeah.
And the what's your why can just feel way too big. The answer to that question doesn't have to be earth-shattering. I'm saving the world. No, I'm here because my husband has been the breadwinner for this many years, and I now want to contribute to the family income. That's meaningful to that person.
Yeah, it is. And just like Gary Vee said, that changes all the time.
Yeah.
All the time throughout. So you can have different reasons, throughout the years. Things change. You change. Yeah, I think my thing for younger people is do not, and I know I've said this before, do not be afraid to talk to your boss about what you want to do, how you want to grow, the things you like to do, the things you don't like to do. That is a perfectly acceptable conversation to have. How can you help me get to here? How can, what can I do for you that gets me to here that I want to get to? That's perfectly acceptable. If you don't feel like you can talk to your boss, or they don't hear you, which is possible, then what you need to do. I mean, if you come across a boss that just cannot, hear you, and you're stuck doing just this and only this, then it would be, in my opinion, time to go. And that happens. I mean, realistically, especially young people, I feel like they jump jobs, get some experience, jump to something else, a lot more than some of us do. So,
yeah, it is more common than it used to be.
Yeah.
Well, I again, with my girls in that age group, it has come up more than once that's the only way they get jobs. I mean, they get raises.
Yeah.
That having a 2 or 3% raise when inflation is higher than that, they're not going to get a big raise until they go to a different company and they start at a higher amount. They've moved up then.
Yeah.
And
not necessarily a different company, but you can apply for loftier positions within your own. And then I feel like, if you don't get it, your question would be, okay, well, what can I do to move to here? That's a perfectly good question to ask.
Yeah.
So, Kitty, when you were talking about the old backstabbing and taking other people's accounts, I've always been in some sort of sales, and sales from the early 90s all the way to today, so that's a bazillion years worth, can draw really aggressive personalities.
Yeah.
Really, really aggressive personalities. And I think this comes way back to where we started this conversation, is you've got to root out that cancer, because there is nothing worse than a salesperson who is just in it 100% for themselves and to hell with the rest of the team. And that's a fine line to walk as an organization, because you are there. Each salesperson has their own goals and their own metrics and needs to meet those. And you are oftentimes you're on your own, so to speak. And your team member might not be a co-salesperson, another salesperson sort of thing. Your team member might be somebody who is in-house to help you.
Yeah.
Whatever. So salespeople often don't have to cooperate with each other. So you wouldn't think it'd make that much of a difference, but you bring in a salesperson that might be making the numbers and going gangbusters, but they have pissed off every other salesperson in that team. Now you've got a problem.
Yeah.
You got a bigger problem because now you've got people looking to target people, well, they've screwed me over a couple times. I get the opportunity. They're first on my list.
Yeah.
That is not how you want your company working.
No. The loss of productivity happens because everybody's in a tailspin and everybody's doing this, right? Everybody's talking amongst themselves about it. What are we going to do about this? And that is it just eats away.
Yeah. And even beyond that, the idea that management knows, you talk to your manager and say, this is a real problem. And they say, well, if they were your account and you were on top of it, that wouldn't have happened. Or, he just has a different vibe with that client. No, don't make excuses. Just say we're greedy fuckers and we don't care.
Yeah.
And just let us know. And,
Yeah.
not what I'm doing right now. Let me just say that. But
yeah,
I don't know, because I've only ever been in sales. I can only speak from the sales position. But it happened when I was selling office furniture. A new guy came in and we didn't have territories. We kind of had it like when we started back in the golden days, you had a phone and a telephone book, and you might get some files that somebody may have sold to 10 years ago that nobody knew what was happening. That was your accounts that you got. And he came in and he just started calling people left and right, never bothered, did not care if it was somebody's account. And I don't think management gets how stupid the company looks when a client calls you and says, hey, are you not taking care of me anymore? Did I get reassigned? Who's this other person calling me? And you're like, what? I don't know why he's calling you.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But what a disaster. And just so infuriating to be in that situation.
Yeah. Oy. People.
Yeah. So people leave.
Right.
Good people leave.
Good people leave. Yeah. Boy, HR would be a tough job.
Yeah.
So interesting conversation, and hopefully some little nuggets of advice coming out of this one today, both from the employee standpoint, those of us that have to navigate that sort of situation and culture, maybe some words of wisdom also as far as for the younger people as you're navigating your career path. Make it clear what it is that you want and what you're looking for, and find that culture that is right for you. And hopefully leaders, if there are leaders listening to us as well, let's all do what we can to adopt this people first, first culture.
And be brave. Not just as the employee, but as the employer.
Yeah.
Be brave. Do what is right. You know what you need to do.
Yeah. We should have maybe had an employment law person join us.
Or an HR person could have joined us too.
That would be fascinating. So,
it's for another day. We'll do it another
day. Yes. Yeah.
Hey, if you are an HR person and you've dealt with this, drop a comment.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Let us know. We would love to hear from you.
Yes.
All right. Well, I don't have any idea what we're talking about next week. So more to come.
We have nothing. We're going to have to figure it out. We always do. We always come up with something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Something always bubbles to the top.
Yes.
I've started a list of random things that I've been noticing that I don't understand and I'd like to talk about. So we could just have this whole smorgasbord of let's help
short
Amy
topics.
out. Yeah.
Okay.
What's up with this?
Yeah, what the hell? Exactly. I got a lot of what the hells, and I'm seeing them everywhere. So maybe that'll be the next week.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
hey, if you've got something that you're going, what the hell? Let us know. We can throw it in.
We can certainly talk about it.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shall we sign off? Any parting words from anyone?
Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers.
I'm having a good old fashioned amaretto sour. Not really sour, but with squirt that I like.
Yeah, that's sour.
You have a wine.
I'm having a wine that I bought from Gary V's wine library where I subscribe to his wine text, and every day I get a bargain wine texted to me and I decide whether or not I want to buy it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Brilliant idea. Yes,
Yeah.
it's very good.
Definitely.
So, thank you, Gary V.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, we'll see you next week.
Yep.
All
See
right.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Woo. Look, I got that wow. Who wants some hands up right now? We got that. Turn it up loud. I know you're wondering how. I got that wow. Here I go, coming. I can't ever stop. I'm a tour de force running. Get me to the top. I don't need an invitation. I'm about to start a celebration. Let me in. Brought a good time plus some friends. Turn it up loud past 10. Turning up the crowd when I hit 'em.